pulling a single thread from the huge tapestry of 16th century colonial history.
A very thin thread.
Yeah, one that usually just gets lost. It becomes a footnote.
Yeah.
We're going back to 1528 to what is now Tampa Bay, Florida.
And we're looking at a story of just unbelievable survival, a whole decade of it, centered on one young Spaniard.
His name was Juan Ortiz, and if you've even heard of him, the story is usually just a captured Spaniard was later rescued.
Right, which is a terrible injustice to what he went through. Our main source here is the chronicler Garcilaso de la Vega, and, well, his account shows the sheer physical and psychological warfare Ortiz had to endure.
So that's what we want to do today. We want to unpack the full terror of his existence.
Everything. The colonial brutality that set the trap in the first place, but also the shocking indigenous compassion that saved him.
And the public torture that almost killed him. And then the final, just gut-wrenching irony of his so-called rescue.
I mean, this story has everything. Public executions, a princess who shows real mercy, and a rescue that almost ends with him being killed by his own countrymen.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning then. The expedition that basically lit the fuse for all this vengeance.
Panfilo de Narvaez.
Right, the 1528 venture. He wanted to set up towns, become governor of the whole Florida coast.
And Narvaez was already infamous before he even got there. To put it mildly, he was aggressive, arrogant, brutal.
So when his expedition lands and immediately runs into trouble near a village called Hirihigua,
Which is modern-day Safety Harbor.
Narvaez reacts with just unrestrained cruelty.
And it's so specific, the cruelty. It's designed to humiliate. The source says Narvaez ordered the local chief, Cacique Hirihigua, to have his nose cut off.
Wow.
An unbelievable affront. But he didn't stop there. He then had the chief's own mother killed, cut up, and fed to his war dogs.
Fed to his dogs.
Yes. So this scorched earth policy basically guaranteed that any future Spaniard setting foot in that area would be met with absolute blinding hatred.
It's just so calculated. So Narvaez creates this human disaster zone. Then he continues his own disastrous march inland where he eventually drowns.
Right near the Mississippi. But he leaves behind this smoking fuse of local rage.
And this is where Juan Ortiz comes in. He has no idea any of this has happened.
None. He's about 18 years old, on a supply boat that had gone back to Cuba for provisions. He is completely innocent of what Narvaez did.
So his ship comes back to Tampa Bay expecting to find Narvaez.
And instead they find the village of Hirihigua.
Yeah.
And the villagers, well, they're fueled by their chief's rage, and they set up this brilliant, fatal trap.
They signal that they have a letter from Narvaez.
Exactly. The Spaniards on the ship are suspicious, of course, so they ask for proof.
And the villagers send 4 Indians in a canoe to the ship, like a show of good faith.
Right. And in return, the ship sends 4 Spaniards ashore to get the letter, and one of them is Juan Ortiz.
The second they hit the beach.
The second they land, they're seized. At the same time, the Indian hostages on the ship just dive overboard and swim back to shore. The ship can only watch, completely helpless.
And the chief, Hirihigua, he finally has his chance for revenge.
His rage is so absolute. The captives weren't just killed, they were turned into a spectacle. The chronicler describes what happened to the first 3 men.
It's horrible.
It's truly horrific. He has them stripped naked and forced to run, one by one, across the public square. But they weren't supposed to be killed quickly.
No, they were shot with arrows, but in a way that would prolong the pain.
Exactly. It was a drawn-out ritual execution, and 3 of the 4 men die this way.
But not Juan Ortiz. The story changes for him. Why was he spared?
Well, he was young, only 18, and the accounts say he was quite handsome. And the women of the village, the chief's wife and daughters, they stepped in.
They took pity on him.
They did. They argued he had nothing to do with Narvaez's crimes and, being so young, you should be spared.
So he's saved, but it sounds like it was just a temporary reprieve.
It was so much worse than a reprieve. Hirihigua agreed, but the chronicler says this favor only served to make Ortiz die 1,000 deaths. His life became this brutal slavery.
He's carrying wood and water, barely eating or sleeping, and getting beaten constantly. I mean, the psychological toll of just being near the man who tortured his friends must have been immense.
It was. And Hirihigua was just enraged that Ortiz wouldn't die from the hardship. And that frustration, well, that leads to one of the most terrifying parts of the whole story.
So it gets worse?
It gets worse. During a festival, the cacique orders a huge fire built in the public square. He has a griddle put over it, and he has Ortiz laid on the griddle to be burned alive.
A griddle, like for cooking?
Like for cooking.
Right.
This wasn't a normal execution. It was a unique, personalized act of humiliation to satisfy the chief's fury.
I can even imagine. And they just left him there.
He was there, suffering, until the same women, the wife and daughters, they rush forward again. They plead with Hirigua, telling him his cruelty is excessive, and they finally convince him to have Ortiz taken off.
The fact he even survived that is a miracle.
It is, but he was pulled off, half-burned, covered in huge blisters. And yet Hirigua, who couldn't kill him, he finds another way to torment him.
What now?
He puts him on death duty.
Death duty. Right after that.
Yes. His new job was to guard the village burial ground. The bodies weren't buried very deep, and Ortiz had to watch them day and night.
And if an animal got to a body...
If an animal dragged one off, Ortiz would be killed immediately.
So it's a no-win situation. It's designed for him to fail.
It was. But this is actually where Ortiz earns a strange kind of respect. He's guarding the grave of a baby that just died, and an animal attacks. The chronicler calls it a lion.
Probably a Florida panther.
Almost certainly a panther. And he fights it off.
You know what?
He does more than that. He kills the panther, then drags its body and the baby's remains back to the village to prove he did his job. And the villagers are, for the first time, actually impressed.
But not Hirigua. I can only imagine how furious he must have been.
He was. Seeing this constant reminder of the Spanish, this man he couldn't break, was too much. He told his family that was it. At the next festival, he was just going to have Ortiz shot with arrows. No more games.
So this is it, a definitive death sentence?
It seemed like it. But this is where the princess, Eulalie, his eldest daughter, intervenes again. And this time, it's not a delay. It's a real escape plan.
She tells him he has to run.
That very night. And it was a calculated plan. She had a destination for him.
Where did she send him?
To a village about 6 leagues away called Mucoso. The chief there, also named Mucoso, wanted to marry Eulalie. She was counting on him protecting Ortiz for her sake.
So a guide takes him away in the dark. Did Mucoso come through?
He did, absolutely. When Ortiz arrives and tells his story, Mucoso embraces him. He openly promises protection and actually defies Hirigua's demands to return him.
So he goes from being a public torture subject to living under the protection of another chief. What a shift.
It's a peaceful decade for him, relatively speaking. He lives there in freedom. But all that time immersed in the native culture, well, it had a crucial side effect.
He started to forget his own language.
He slowly forgot how to speak Spanish.
Which almost gets him killed years later. Okay, let's jump forward. It's 1539, 11 years have passed, and a new, much bigger expedition arrives.
Hernando de Soto. He lands in Tampa Bay, and he's heard the rumors about a Spaniard living among the natives. He's determined to find him.
So he sends out a military detachment, 40 horsemen, 40 foot soldiers.
Led by a man named Baltazar de Gallegos. And Ortiz, when he hears his countrymen are nearby, he's just overjoyed. He runs out to meet them.
A moment of pure relief for him.
That turns into pure panic, because you have to remember what he looks like.
Right.
A decade living with the natives. He's deeply tanned, he's wearing a cap with plumes, short drawers, carrying a bow and arrow.
To the Spanish soldiers, he doesn't look like a long-lost nobleman. He looks like a hostile warrior charging them.
Exactly. The ultimate irony. They think it's an ambush, so they lower their lances and charge right at him. And Ortiz is frantically trying to scream to tell them who he is.
But the Spanish words won't come out.
He's forgotten them. In that split second, that moment of absolute life-or-death panic, only one single word breaks through the fog.
The name of his hometown.
Seville. He yells it just as a lance is about to run him through.
And that one word saves his life.
It snaps them out of it. They realize this man is the person they came all this way to rescue.
And we know this happened. De Soto himself wrote about it in a letter back to Cuba, confirming the rescue of Juan Ortiz and Hidalgo from Seville.
And he even mentions the language part, saying that while Ortiz had forgotten his Spanish, it directly returned to him once he was back with his countrymen.
So, after surviving all that, torture, slavery, a panther, friendly fire, you'd think the man earned a ticket home.
Not a chance. He was suddenly the most valuable person in the entire De Soto expedition.
Because he was fluent in the local languages?
He was the ultimate interpreter, so he wasn't sent home or celebrated. He was forced to join their endless wandering march through what is now the southern United States.
And it was during that march that his story was actually recorded by De la Vega?
Yes, but Juan Ortiz, he never made it home. He died of natural causes, probably disease, in 1542. Somewhere in modern-day Arkansas. He was only about 32 years old.
He survived the griddle and the lance, only to die on another doomed expedition.
History is really a perfect microcosm of the whole conquest. You have this incredible Spanish brutality that sparks this very personal, tailored native vengeance.
But then it's countered by these amazing acts of human compassion from Ulele, from Mukoso.
Exactly. It's so complex. It's not a simple story of good versus evil.
It's a powerful reminder that history so often just flattens these incredible decade-long sagas into footnotes. We lose the complexity, the nuance, and just the sheer will to survive.
And that really raises a question for you, the listener. What other complex, defining stories of survival are we missing? How many other Juan Ortizes are out there, their entire lives reduced to a single, brief administrative note in the Chronicles of the Conquerors?